People have become very delicate and spoiled with heat in the last few decades. I would like to start with the issue that happened to me last year. I got ill with some flu, as I thought back then. But then my health got worse and worse. I got a complication, but I won't elaborate, just believe it was the worst period of my life. Doctors didn't help me. I was taking 3 different antibiotics, but they didn't work at all. I was sure I was dying. There were times when I couldn't get up from the bed for 3 days. I had really strong vertigo. I didn't go out even for a short walk. And then I started to wonder if I could improve my health by myself. My plan was to give my body all it needed to cure itself. I had no choice, and the main focus I was concentrated on was the immune system. It's the main system that works in so many processes in our body that we just can't imagine. The first step was to identify some supplements I was deficient in. This is a completely different topic to discuss. I just want to mention that there is no such a pill to simply boost your immune system. No, forget about it and don't trust deceivers. So, the second thing that had a huge impact on my recovery process was cold water. After 3 months of suffering, I started to pour cold water over my feet, very carefully. I didn't want to trigger any new inflammation or infection exacerbation. By that time, I already could walk outside for a few minutes, and to be honest, after 2 weeks, I got some kind of cold. There was no fever, only throat ache and weakness. I stopped all the cold procedures until I felt better. After 1 week, I proceeded and it went much smoother. I began with slightly cold water, and before I applied it, I treated myself with pretty hot water, so I tried to make a bigger temperature gradient without using freezing water. I didn't want to give shock challenges to my cardiovascular system, especially to my exhausted nervous system, and I really didn't want to bother my precious remains of my immune system. And it worked out pretty well. I understood that if I kept myself from any loads, even minor ones, I wouldn't improve my health. I added some very simple exercises. I started to go out for a longer time, for about 5-7 minutes. It was really hard. My head was spinning, I couldn't walk straight, I struggled with extrasystole, headaches, and many other things. During the night, I was still sweating, but I proceeded to start every morning with this ritual. And while I was walking outside, I allowed myself to wear thinner clothes, and I started to love cold wind. I stopped being afraid of it, and contrary to my expectations, I didn't get ill. No, I felt much stronger. Of course, if you can say so about a weak and unsteady guy, but I was sure I was on the right way. To be honest, I had been doing this routine when I was at school. I was 13. I struggled with a stuffy nose for a few months, and it was a real challenge to fall asleep without nose drops. I had no flu, I was pretty healthy, but that nose. And eventually, my PE teacher told me to try some cold water therapy. I was young and really skeptical, but I was tired of my nose. It was a pretty cold autumn, however, I gathered my courage and started to pour cold water on myself before school. I started with my legs, and a week later I was able to pour cold water on my entire body. Of course, it wasn't icy water. I was really excited that my nose started to breathe with full power even in the night without any nose drops. I recall happily telling this to the teacher and my parents. But my cold water treatment lasted for about 2 months, and I forgot about it soon, because I was already healthy and it was challenging for me to do it every day before school. Now I have all the knowledge to do it safely. I don't try to become a Wim Hof, I just stick to the main principle. You need to make your body think that there is a danger to your life. Let it be a really small danger. It should think that something, in this case unexpected cold, wants to kill you, and our body in return runs so many processes inside to compensate for these conditions. In plain language, while you treat yourself with cold water, in a short period of time, your neural, immune and hormonal systems start unexpected and unplanned military exercises. Our body mobilizes all the resources to protect us from hypothetical death due to hypothermia. But it never knows that we control this process, and it will last only for a minute. That is the trick. Oh, and there was another attempt to start cold water treatment when I was 16, but I didn't know how to do it properly. I made many mistakes and I got ill. As I remember, walking barefoot in the snow during the first few days was a bad idea. These compensation mechanisms worked for ages, providing us survival in an extreme environment. Our bodies worked at 102%, but when we started to live super calm, full of food and cozy warm lives, they started to degrade, and we started to degrade as well. This is my really humble opinion about thermal relationships. If you live in a mild or hot climate, do cold treatments for yourself. If you live in a northern cold environment, treat yourself with hot water or sauna. Your body has to receive thermal stress, of course within reasonable limits. You shouldn't suffer from the cold AC airflow in the car or at home. If you do suffer from it and get ill quickly, then there may be something wrong with your immune system. The AC gives you dry, cool air that dries out your nose, and infections can grow more quickly without moisture in the nose. But in general, make thermal changes a part of your life. Don't be afraid to open windows frequently, even in winter. Especially in winter. Enjoy the AC in summer, but within reasonable limits. By the way, speaking of limits, don't try to set uncomfortable records, especially if you have some chronic diseases. Be really careful. Cold treatment can heal you and it can damage your health as well, so listen to your body.
And I don't want to fight it. I want to surrender, to see that I'm stronger than I think. And to prove to myself that life truly begins outside our comfort zone. Because when I think about it, when do I feel most alive?
Did you see it? Did you hear this girl? She's absolutely right. But please don't do it like she does. Just get the main idea and listen. I do like heat. I like summer. I like the hot sun, and I'm definitely not a fan of cold. However, I have made it my friend. I don't torture myself all day long with an icy bath, once in the morning after sports and one contrast shower in the evening. That's it. These small things give me a lot of benefits for my health and mood. And I encourage you to start this routine from now until the last days of your life. We plan to live a long life, don't we? Okay, if this video gets more than 100 views, I would like to ask you to leave your thoughts about cold treatment in the comments. Honest experiences are the most precious thing under any video on YouTube, often more valuable than the video itself. Okay, cold therapy is just one of many aspects that make you much stronger and boost your resistance. Peace and doing nothing is the right way to make your life shorter. Sports, temperature changes, hard brain work and 10% of proper rest. This is the right way to live a full life.